I got to thinking, how many of you have been on the hunt for the perfect CRM system for your real estate investing business? I don't know if you're aware, but having the wrong system can set you back or actually even hurt your business, partially because you're missing information, you have incorrect data, you're trying to piece together information from multiple sources and platforms, which can lead to errors and ultimately lead to making bad business decisions. Well, we've all heard the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm sure many of us at some point have been running businesses without even really knowing our numbers and understanding the KPIs. So imagine if you had a system that allowed you to know all of your company metrics. Now let's take it a step further. Imagine all of that data in one user-friendly system. My friend, I want to introduce you to Left Main. With Left Main, you have two options: Left Main Basic and Left Main Plus, which includes integrated phone and text systems. Left Main is built on Salesforce, which is the world's #1 CRM platform, and it gives you the ability to customize your reports, your dashboards. You have KPI tracking, tons of automations, and all of your favorite integrations. Left Main's the only system guaranteed to grow with your business. So I want to invite you to visit leftmainrei.com/flipempire and schedule your free demo today so that you can experience the last CRM system you'll ever need. Head over to leftmainrei.com/flipempire and schedule your demo today.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Have I got a podcast episode for you today? Guys, I have somebody on the podcast that I probably must have said at least on 2 or 3 occasions that I was truly inspired by her and her story. I have a podcast episode that you need to listen to. You need to listen to from start to finish. I have none other than Stephanie Betters on the show today, and you might not know who she is, but you will very, very soon. Stephanie is doing some unbelievable things in the real estate investing space and has provided a solution that is a huge pain point for so many real estate investors and entrepreneurs. And I'll mention what that is in a second here, but Stephanie's somebody who I have been hearing about, as you're about to hear on the show, for a while from some people that I respect and trust and know. And I'm fortunate that her and I have crossed paths and have started just building up a relationship and talking. And she is the owner, along with her husband, Zach, of a multi-million-dollar wholesaling operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. So she is an active real estate investor. And on this show, we talk about her journey to building that wholesaling business and what the biggest pain point was when it came to KPIs and data and systems, and how that led her to create what I believe is probably the best CRM solution. Not probably, this is the best CRM solution that I have seen. I just recently had an opportunity to go under the hood in a demo. And if you guys want to check it out, leftmainrei.co, leftmainrei.co. You can schedule a demo, see for yourself. But, her journey is so inspiring. People talk about taking action. Stephanie took that to a completely different level, like new heights. You talk about having a problem and not being able to find a solution in the marketplace for it. So just saying, screw it, I'm gonna do it myself. And that's essentially what she did. So I don't want to reveal too much. I want you to listen to this podcast. It's woven with gems and a lot of wisdom, and it's just an inspiring story. Like I said, I walked away feeling like, hey, sometimes we get stuck, and my grandmother used to say, don't drown in a glass of water. She said it in Spanish, of course. But sometimes we have these challenges. We talk about adversity, and it's not, you're going to hear me say, it's not the adversity that we're faced with. It's what we do with that adversity. And Stephanie Betters is a shining example of just having there was something that happened in her real estate business that essentially put them on ice. Essentially, like the plug was disconnected and she was like just disabled and she couldn't do anything. And she says, this can never happen again. And as a result of just blind rage, as she calls it, she has created something that I believe is going to be soon is going to be the leader and the standard, the gold standard in the industry. So kind of as a teaser, if you want to check it out, leftmainrei.com/flip empire. This episode is packed with nuggets, and it's rich in content. So you got to hear her story, and I'm excited to introduce you to Stephanie Betters. Stephanie Betters, I cannot tell you how pumped I am to have you on the Flip Empire show. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so blessed. You know, I'll kind of start the show by sharing this. Is sometimes I kind of pinch myself and that I have the opportunity to meet, connect, and build relationships with great people in our industry. And you are somebody whose name has just continued to pop up in my like ecosystem, you know, from Christina Kraus to several others, mutual friends of ours, that just keep talking about you, what you're doing in the real estate investing community, you know, talking about how your software, Left Main, is helping so many people, and just the quality of person that you are. Your reputation precedes you. So I'm grateful and fortunate to start building a relationship with you. I mean, I'm excited to introduce you to the audience.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's so sweet. I feel the same way about you. I'm so excited to be here and to chat and get to know you more. And this is great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, listen, so just in full transparency, you know, usually people that I have on the show, I have some sort of relationship with, or I know, and I'm grateful that, you know, this is actually a unique situation, and that you and I are, you know, we've met over the course of the last few weeks. And again, I've heard so many great things about you. So I selfishly want to get to know a lot more about you and everything that you have going on. So because you and I, you know, had just recently met, I did quite a bit of digging and research on you. And and that's a good thing, by the way. I wanted to research you and just kind of get to know you better. So you are a very, very active, successful real estate investor in your own right. And selfishly, I have been looking to connect with more female entrepreneurs because I feel like, I don't know if you would agree or disagree with me, I feel like this tends to be male dominated. And there's so many amazing women entrepreneurs and real estate investors that are just killing it, that are doing so well. And I think that there's a lot that we could learn, because you might have a different perspective or insight, or maybe your approach or introduction into the business was different than maybe mine has been. So with that being the context, how did you ultimately get into real estate investing?
So the story really begins with my husband and I. It's funny, for a long time. Well, I don't know about how long, but it feels like a long time. But initially, my role in this was to be a supportive wife. And I joke with my husband now because now he created a monster. But this all started for us back in 2007. We had just got married. We got married right out of undergrad and college, and we were super young, didn't have any money. A lot of the flipping shows were just on TV. So this concept of buying a foreclosed house was like, you buy a foreclosed house, you fix it up, you make money. That's it. That's all you have to do. You just got to find a foreclosed house.
Super easy, right?
Right. So this was in 2007. And my husband kind of bought into this. He's like, this is a great idea. And I was very resistant. We had just gotten married. I'm like, this is not what I pictured. This is not that kind of home I was hoping for us to have, our first home to buy. So I was pretty resistant, but he convinced me with with a plan, right? He's like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to live in it. We'll flip it. And then we'll go to grad school. We'll save that money and we'll use that money to buy, the new house when we settle down. And so I was like, okay. So anyway, that was our first house we bought in 2007. We lived in it. It took about a year and a half for us to finish rehabbing it. And we rehabbed the whole thing ourselves with one exception, was like sanding the hardwood floors, because we just didn't have that big machine to sand the hardwood floors. Okay. And we sold that house literally in 2009, Q1 of 2009, right before the market crashed in upstate New York. We were living in Binghamton, and IBM is a major employer in Binghamton. And we sold the house, and 2 weeks later, they laid off most of their staff, and the market then crashed there. So that was really crazy. We were super lucky at the timing there. And then we went off to grad school. Now I got pregnant, and we finished grad school, and we were trying to figure out what to do. We had a little baby at the point. Where are we going to live? Are we going to do this real estate thing again? And at that point, I kind of got a little bit of the bug because I saw the process, and I was like, okay, I will do this again, but I won't live in it again. I'm going to draw the line there. So we moved down to North Carolina. We picked North Carolina because of the real estate market, and also the medical industry there is great. So I'm a nurse practitioner at that point. My husband's a physician assistant. We're trying to find a balance between real estate market being healthy and us having, a path forward in our medical careers. So North Carolina seemed to be the great place. We looked at Charlotte, compared that to Raleigh and kind of that Tri-City area, and Jacksonville too, by the way. And Charlotte really seemed to mirror both of those markets, but was just a few years behind. So we're like, I think Charlotte will continue to grow and follow those other markets. Let's go there and see if we can launch this thing. So we did. So we moved to Charlotte. We had no family here. We're just like, yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Wow. And
So
with the baby at this point, right?
Yes. We had a little bit. When we moved, she was 1.5. And so then what we did, again, I was still a little bit unsure, right? This was my husband's dream. This is what he wanted. I just wanted to get married and have babies and be a nurse practitioner. Like that was my goal. So I still was a little bit resistant because I was like, we just invested all this money in our education. We have all this debt. Like, is this the best time to take a big risk? I feel like it's not, So what we landed on is like, okay, let's make a bet. Okay, if we are correct that the market is going to continue to appreciate, then this house that we just bought in Charlotte is going to appreciate with it, right? So now I'm pregnant again, right? Now we're having our second one is on the way. So I said, okay, let's do this. Let's buy this house. I think we're right. And we were both on the same page, and we both thought this was a great idea, but we were just trying to figure out timing, and I was scared to risk everything too soon. So okay, if we buy this house in 2 years, it appreciates, then that'll be the money that we use to start our business. Because now we don't have any more money. We bought a house to come down. We're moving, again, we had a ton of debt from school. So to a ton of debt, it was like we had over $200,000 in student loan debt.
$200,000. Wow.
Yeah, because my husband has associates, bachelor's, and master's. Now I have a bachelor's and master's. We have all this debt. So I was like, you can see why I was a little bit worried to put everything on the line again.
You're moving to a new city, new state with no family. You have a 1-year-old baby. You move there. You have another one on the way. You still got $200,000 in debt. So I'm just putting myself in your shoes, and I could see how you would be very hesitant to move forward.
Yeah, it was scary, right? And I bought in, like I wanted to support my husband, but again, we just had to get the timing right. So that was a deal. We're going to buy this house. We got a great deal on it. We're really strategic about where we bought it and everything. And we're like, I think it's going to appreciate. So in 2 years, that's going to be our time. Perfect. We'll have young children. They'll be a little bit older. We'll have a couple years behind us in our careers, right? Like we can save a little bit of money now. Like we can settle down just a little bit. And that's exactly what happened. 2 years later, the market appreciated significantly. We were able to take out a home equity line of credit on that house, $20,000, which now seems like nothing, but then seemed like an enormous amount of money, right? That was like literally all we had was this money. Wow. So that $20,000, we took that out. And I felt good about it. I was like, we still have equity in the house because, when you take a HELOC out, they don't give you 100% equity. You still have to have 20% remaining. So I was like, okay, if we blow this, the worst case scenario is we still have equity in our house, right? So that was like how I justified it. And I was like, okay, Zach, I think we're good. I think we're good to go. And I will never forget that day that we went to Wells Fargo. We got the check, right? And he was just like, really? You're going to be okay with this? And I was like, yes, let's go. So then we did. And then, so we started analyzing deal. We, made our LLC or whatever, but then we started like looking at deals and try to figure out what we were doing. We read a ton on Bigger Pockets. And by the way, this whole time he's researching stuff. I'm just like not even engaged in it because 2 years was our goal. So now I start engaging and I'm reading Bigger Pockets, listening to podcasts, which incredible amount of education you can get out there.
So
oh
much.
My gosh.
Yeah.
We started analyzing deals. We started watching what other people were doing, started going to RIAs, and we would guess. We're like, okay, this house looks like it needs about this much in work, right? We had renovated properties ourselves. So we kind of had an idea on what it what things cost. And then we try to figure out, okay, what would it be worth? And we would comp. And we literally probably did this on at least 100 houses
Okay.
We'd follow, we were wrong on this one. Why? And what was that person thinking? And we just kind of analyzing and trying to figure out how to even make an offer on properties. And then we started, then we, we've probably made 100 offers before we actually got it accepted. And then what happened was we got 2 offers accepted at the same time because we were so used to getting rejected. We were just massively putting out offers.
There you go.
And then we got 2 offers accepted. We're like, oh shoot, now what? We weren't expecting that. So then we, thankfully, being in the medical industry, we're surrounded by people who have high net worth, right? And now I've just spent the last 2 years establishing myself as a provider, being trustworthy, being reliable, and creating great friends, and just talking about real estate. And same thing with Zach. He's working in the clinic and doing the same thing. And it was funny how our first private money lender came from him just talking real estate, suturing somebody's head. I think it was a head.
That's hilarious. And they have nowhere to go, so they have to listen, right?
So he was just like BSing, talking about real estate. And the guy was like, oh yeah, I'm a private money lender. I've actually done that before. And he's like, oh really? Well, I just have a deal. I have a deal that we actually need funding on. So the 20 grand that we had, we used part of it for a down payment on an MLS deal. So we got a traditional loan on that. And then the other one was funded by this private money lender. So the one was a rental, turned into a rental, and the other one turned into a flip. And it just like kind of got rolling. It was really funny. And the private money lender only agreed to lend to us because he went to our website, which I had just made like a month prior. And Zach gave me all kinds of crap about it. He's like, why are you wasting $50 a month on this website? It's so stupid. No one's gonna look at it. And I was like, no, we need it. So, I like to run. See, I have some ideas, Zach.
You let them know about it, right? I can imagine.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No. But so then the whole thing just kind of started. And, we did that flip. Then we took all the money that we made on that property and we reinvested in the business. Like we didn't take a dime from our company for only really until recently. Like this is 7 years later. Like we probably started paying ourselves 2 years ago. So for 5 full years,
the company, growing it.
Yes. And, I think that having a W-2 income is kind of this big disputed thing in our industry. Like, should we just leave our jobs? When should we jump all in? When do you burn the boats? The way we approached it that was how we were going to eat, right? Was from that. And everything we made from our company was going to be reinvested. So it helped us tremendously. We were able to get a conventional loan, which then we realize is not possible in the future when there's no house, when there's no roof and the houses are disasters, right? But it still helped us get a loan and it helped us feed our family and stay relatively stable while we were trying to grow something. So I was really grateful for that. It also forced us to hire because when I'm in the hospital seeing patients, dealing with actual emergencies, I can't deal with a contractor emergency or a homeowner calling off marketing. So I had to hire a lead intake person. We had to hire a project manager. We were in this position where we physically couldn't do something. So we had to hire somebody, and I kind of slowly grew our team. I will say that the initial intention was never to have a wholesaling company, right? Or a flipping company even. Our initial intention was we were just going to buy rentals. And that's how we were going to retire. That's how we were going to pay for our kids' weddings. That's how we were going to pay for kids' college, was just to have these rentals, right? And the idea was to have 3 rentals for each child. And we had 3 children. So it was like, oh, that seems pretty doable. We can do that. And we took this big detour into flipping and wholesaling because it was so difficult to stack enough money to buy enough rentals because it's such a long game. You know this. It's such a long game.
I can relate.
So that was very difficult. Once we did the first rental and it like ate up all our cash and we're making, a few $100 a month, we're like, well, this is going to take forever. How are we going to buy enough rentals by the time they go to college? We're not going to be there. Yeah. So that's when we started flipping and wholesaling, because we're like, okay, we're going to get that cash in the business. Then we'll buy rentals. Then we'll do more flipping and wholesaling, buy more rentals. And we kind of did that. But fortunately and unfortunately, building a wholesaling company is a whole different ballgame, so that took us down this beautiful little, road of like, how do we do this now? And that's kind of where I joke with my husband that he created a monster, because that kind of became my passion, right? His idea was this passive income, wealth building. That was his vision. Like, we're just going to buy rentals and it'll be passive. And
Right.
once I, because he's the very visionary type and I'm a very integrator COO type. Once I bought into the vision and understand where he wants to be, I didn't find a way to do that. Like the only path to do that is you have to be able to make active income and then invest it. We
Correct.
weren't going to make enough active income in our W-2 jobs to do that quick enough. We would maybe be able to buy a house every 5 years, which is great. Like, but that wasn't our plan. His plan was, we wanted to buy 9 rentals, and how are we going to do that in 20 years if it's going to take us one every 5? Like, we're not. It's not, that math doesn't work. So then I took us down this detour.
If you don't mind, let me ask you this question, because I'm thinking people that are listening to this podcast and or maybe watching it are thinking to themselves, I'm in that situation where, I have a W-2 and I'm pursuing real estate, or I'm in real estate. I'm already doing some deals. It sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing was that was the fork in the road moment, so to speak, for you, in that you realize that, hey, keeping my full-time W-2 job isn't going to allow me to stack enough rentals to bring in this cash flow that I need. Was that kind of the decision point for you, where you're like, okay, I need to transition from a full-time, nurse practitioner to let me get into real estate full-time?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Once I had that realization that it wasn't possible to do what we wanted to do quick enough for the purpose of the money, right? Like the college education's coming, right? And we had 15 years to be prepared for that. And we weren't going to be able to do that in time for all 3 of our children. So once I realized that, I was like, well, we have to build a business then. So the goal then became, instead of building rentals passively and getting passive income from rentals, I was like, you know what? The goal should be that we build a business that we own passively.
Yeah.
What's wrong with having a business? If I'm owning it and it's running, that sounds to me just about the same as it is to have rentals, because you're still going to deal with some stuff. Like I still get calls from the property manager about whatever happens. And even though it's pretty easy to manage, it's still something. And if we grow a business and we get it to the point where it's hired out and it has systems and processes and we're in the owner's box, that sounds like we can make that money faster and then be able to invest that in the rentals. And then now that active income turns passive because we've systemized it.
Yeah.
So I kind of convinced Zach, like, that's probably the best way to do this. And that's where the monster comes in, right? And they're like, systems and processes. That's when I really dug in. I was like, wow, there really is a way to build something here, and that's truly, I think, who I am. Is like, I can grow something. If you give me an idea, if you give me a concept and I get it and I believe in it, I can grow it. It may take some time, but I can do that, right? So that became that totally shifted our focus. And it honestly put acquiring rentals a little bit on the back burner for a while, because if we bought too many rentals, even when we got the cash, it killed our cash flow.
That's right.
Because now we didn't have the money to pay for the marketing or the employees. Like we couldn't invest all of it. We could only invest some of it. So it kind of changed our approach. And there was several points in this journey where I felt like we made the wrong decision. I was like,
really?
What?
Talk a little bit about that.
My gosh.
Yeah, because I want to kind of get inside your mind here, and more importantly, like what you were feeling, because I think as entrepreneurs, Stephanie, and you know this better than most, it's not always peaches and rainbows and unicorns. In fact, oftentimes it's a struggle. It's a challenge, whether it's team members or whether it's systems breaking down or deals falling through or overhead growing. I mean, there's so many things that as entrepreneurs and real estate investors we deal with, that most of the outside public only sees the checks posted on Facebook and the Facebook lives from in front of the house, and the HGTV. They make it look so easy, right? And but that's not reality. Reality is being an entrepreneur can be very challenging, and sometimes it can be lonely, especially if you haven't been proactive and intentional about surrounding yourself with people like Stephanie, right? So talk a little bit about some of those kind of moments of adversity when you were like, did we make the right decision? It's so much easier, quote unquote, to just go back to my full-time, W-2 as a nurse practitioner.
Oh my gosh. I've had so many moments of just utter defeat, when, just like you said, the deal doesn't close that you're counting on, right? Like to make payroll or to make the marketing thing, and the deal blows up, and then you feel just horrible about letting down a homeowner or, letting down your family, right? And I think that I think the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is dealing with that pressure of everything mattering. Everything is so important. Like everything has to work, right? And then it inevitably doesn't. And it's just because you're trying to forge a new trail. Like things have to work for it to go forward, right? Because there is no path. You have to make the path. So when things don't go right and you're slowed down, it just feels like an utter failure. Like I think the key to being a successful entrepreneur is having that not defeat you anymore, having failure be part of the journey and not the reason to stop. You know what I'm saying? So
100%. Like Ryan Holiday talks about in his book, The Obstacle is the Way. It's
100%.
That's right. No, I think it's spot on. And it's for those of you listening, I want you to adopt that mindset and expect adversity. And for me, what's been really helpful, Stephanie, in my journey is when I'm met with adversity, which sometimes feels like happens on a daily basis, if not weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
I stop and pause and say, for me, right, God is prepping me for something bigger. God is prepping me to grow. And so for you, that might be something else, but always reframe it as this is an opportunity to grow, learn, and to become a better version of father, mother, husband, entrepreneur, wife. You get what I'm saying? So that reframe for me and that self-awareness has been huge in my life and in my business.
I couldn't agree more. I honestly think that is the key. And I've kind of developed these like little things that I tell myself, right, to deal with obstacles and deal with issues. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm expecting problems, right? Yeah. And I eat problems for breakfast.
Oh, I love that mindset.
Anything, I know, like anything. If anyone can figure it out, I can figure it out, right? That's and like, right. You just keep telling yourself these things until you really believe them, and that's the thing that gets you through, right? And that I like that's my mantra now, and like that's how I recruit people even to work with us. Is like, if you don't believe that you can eat problems for breakfast and that like we deal with problems and we deal with them fast, like then we're not going to be a good culture fit, because everybody here is our problem solvers, right? Like for homeowners, for business, for whatever, like we're here to solve problems, and problems are not failure. Problems are like you said, part of the path. So if we can deal with the emotional strain of hitting an obstacle and hitting a problem, like you can't lose. Like you literally can't lose if problems don't slow you down, or don't stop you, I should say. They can slow you down, but they can't stop you.
That's right. What I want to encourage everyone to do right now is to, if you're listening to this on your mobile device, hit that rewind, the 30 seconds back, like 4 or 5 times, and just re-listen to the last few minutes of what Stephanie shared, because that is the winning mindset right there. Adversity is inevitable, but it's not what you do. It's not the adversity that comes your way. It's what you do with that adversity. And it all starts with that mindset that I love the way that you said that. I eat problems and challenges for breakfast. That might even be the title of this particular podcast episode, but I love it. That's the mindset right there. That's what people have to understand. It's, I forgot who told me, or if I read this or heard this somewhere, but somebody said, I'd love to give them credit. Don't ask for life to be easier, ask to become better and stronger. Right? Like you have to work on yourself, and that's the inner work. That's where personal development comes in. And, you're taking the time to listen to this podcast and connect with people like Stephanie, your environment, your ecosystem. So important. So with all that being said, I want to kind of transition now to, you talked about building a wholesaling business, and you talked about building a company with systems and processes and hiring. There's so much to dive into that. My gut tells me we may need to have you on for a part 2, because there's only so much we can cover in one podcast episode. But talk about that. And I realize that's a very macro type question, but talk about your journey building a wholesaling business with systems and processes and team members, et cetera. And then I'll drill down with more specific questions from there.
Yeah. So when we were building this company, and I'm trying to figure out a way to be profitable and to be reliable and consistent, we keep hearing these words like back office and systems and processes. And there's, like you said, there's these macro concepts that are out there. But what I really struggle with doing is finding the micro process to do it. I didn't feel like there was really a roadmap for micro processes, like the day-to-day stuff. And that was really my responsibility, right? Like I just took us down this path, right? And I had to own the pressure that I put on our family, right? Because it really, like, I really did that to us. So I changed the vision that my husband originally had. And I was like, okay, crap. Now we have to actually do it. Right. And I'm sure a lot of people relate to that feeling of like, oh my gosh, my family's on board. Now I can't mess up. Yeah. So how do you get through the day to day, right? Like, how do you hire? Who do you need to hire? What do you need? And what I really felt helped us a lot was getting into the micro detail like that. Like, okay, what should happen from the time the phone rings until the time the appointment is set? Like what happens? And when we were first starting, it was just us, right? Like it was just, I don't know, you answer the phone and then you just do what happens on the phone call, right? And then how do you translate that to teach a new employee how to do it? What is the process that they should follow? Like with this step, like just this thing, right? Yeah. And when you concentrate on doing the micro like that and articulating the small steps that it takes to get from A to Z, now you have a business that's transferable to somebody else. It kind of gets out of your brain. It's on paper. It's reproducible. This is the consistent thing that everybody's going to do in the little conveyor belt system that your business is, right? I started looking at it like that, like the business, what starts, like you start with the marketing piece and all that, but really what starts the whole sales process from start to finish is that first phone call, right? Or the first lead form. And how do I bring that homeowner from the lead form or phone call all the way down to the closing table? And there's about 100 little steps in between. So how do I articulate them and then measure and then reproduce it? Yeah. And I was able to articulate it. Where I kept struggling was with measurement. And that's kind of what started this whole other journey, right? I was like, okay, now I have stuff happening, but how do I know what's happening and how do I make good decisions on what to do next? Because we kept getting punched in the face, right? Like, okay, that mail piece didn't work. Well, how do I know it didn't work? Right? Like the phone didn't ring. Okay, well, what should the phone do? Right? And how do I know what a good mail piece is? Because back then 1% was a fantastic response rate. But then all of a sudden now response rates are 0.08%. Now what do I do?
Yep.
Right. And I feel like we've all done it. So how do I now judge? Right. And is it just the number of phone calls or is it the quality of phone calls? And, what are we doing with follow-up when people actually come in the system? Like how many times does it take to get them to convert to an appointment? Right. How long do we have to follow up with people and all these like micro data measurements that we make gigantic decisions about. Like we're spending, $20,000 to $100,000 a month on marketing, and the data is kind of unclear, right? Yeah. Like I'm just kind of doing stuff because I heard this is the right thing to do, and that does work, right? Like it gets you a certain distance, but then what I found happened, we were spending a ton of money, and I wasn't 100% sure what exactly was happening, right? So then I started diving into this, like, okay, well, what should a conversion ratio be? Like, what's a good response rate? And then after that, like, well, how many of those should be appointments? And how many appointments should we go on to get a deal? Yeah. And then all the micro stuff, like, okay, how long does it take for people to go across my little journey here? And how many touches does it take? And what if I tweak this or tweak that? Then what? And I kind of got really upset about how much money we were spending. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I bet you we're wasting money. Like, I bet you I bet you we're pulling a list of people that we've already pulled. I bet you those people we've already mailed, and we're paying money for a new list. But I bet you we already have those names. How many times is that going to change, right? And I bet you all the people in our system are falling through the cracks. I think probably 80% of people that are in our system are like, we're not doing justice. So how do I be efficient now, right? So you build a little system, you build a conveyor belt, and then now how do you be efficient so that you can be profitable? And that is really where the profit comes in, is with efficiency. You get a little profitable, you do a couple deals, but then when you start hiring people and start spending money on marketing, now you have to be efficient or you 100%. Lose that money.
That's right.
So, I got really upset with just lack of data. We had very basic information, and honestly, most of the data kind of came from phone calls. And I still kind of feel that way in our industry. That tends to be the data point that we talk about and pay attention to, is like, well, how many phone calls? What's the response rate? And then there's no other data, like nothing else. And it's because we're used to CallRail, right? And we have like a little bit of data from that system, and that's about it. Yeah. And the CRM that I was using at that time was like a waste. Like I spent money maintaining people to monitor my CRM to then give me information that was wrong. I was just like,
Uh,
oh, I was like, oh my
right.
God.
I'm feeling some type of way inside because I wish I knew you years ago, because I can so relate to the pain of just crappy CRMs and not trusting the data and garbage in, garbage out, and everything you're talking about. Like, I'm getting chills because I lived it for so many years and I know exactly what you're talking about. Before we talk about, because now I'm glad that you articulated so well the struggle. And this, I think, ties in nicely to what we were talking about, adversity. In adversity comes opportunity. Within the challenges come opportunity. And you were dealing with a big pain point that now has become just such a valuable tool and resource and huge system in many real estate investors' businesses. And so we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But I really want to highlight, Stephanie, that I think you've done a phenomenal job from everything you're sharing about thinking about your business big picture. You are not your business. It's a separate breathing organism, right? And you got into the weeds and you started asking yourself all these questions. All those questions you just highlighted, like, whoa, what's supposed to happen when a call comes in? And what happens if this? I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle that a lot of real estate investors just don't take the time to do and to drill down and ask these questions. And they're so busy doing the business, right? Marketing, taking the calls, all this type of stuff, that they don't step back and say, well, why didn't this happen? And okay, now that I have this data point, what does that tell me on a macro level? And we make these important decisions. And I remember in 2018, 19, we were sending 40 something thousand direct mail pieces a month. And I'm like, we're getting a 0.004, 0.005% response rate. I'm like, we're literally flushing 99.9% of these marketing dollars down the tube. And I started to ask myself better questions, like, how do we maximize, let's question everything from the direct mail list to the marketing piece to how we're taking the calls. And that's how you get better. But that's the hard work. That's the work that you have to put in order to get better and become more profitable. The cool thing is we're in a business that's very forgiving, right? And so you can make mistakes and still get paid to make those mistakes. My fear for people, fear is not the right word. Where I'm concerned for people is that when the market shifts, you have to be that much better. Right. So, and to be profitable, and you can't be wasteful with your marketing dollars. So I just wanted to share that with people because I think you did a beautiful job of just kind of articulating how you thought about the process to even start putting systems in place. So you mentioned CRM. For people that don't know, you're going to hear more about it because I recently went through a demo of Stephanie's software solution called Left Main. And I was sharing this with her before the podcast. I've been around this business 16 years, and I feel like I've pretty much seen every CRM solution out there that real estate investors use. And some are pretty good, others suck. This is easily, and I don't say this lightly, easily the best CRM that I have seen. I can't do it justice. I'm kind of stumbling over my words because I just want people to kind of experience and see it. But talk about how Left Main was born. You talk about the struggle and the challenges. It's challenging enough to build a wholesaling business with team members and have all these systems. How did you find the bandwidth to say, hey, there's a better solution out there, I just have to figure it out? And then how did you get to the point to even offer that to other real estate investors?
I'm kind of embarrassed to say this because it really all started with like blinding rage.
Blinding rage. Talk about that.
Oh my gosh. So it all kind of started when our CRM went down for 3 days. Literally could not log into Podio for 3 days. I had no backup system. Our phone was all like, tied into that. I literally, our business stopped for 3 days and I had no idea what to do. And I felt so vulnerable at that time. I'm like, we're here trying to run a multi-million-dollar company and I don't have access to my data. Like, what the hell just happened? And how am I so vulnerable, right? That's really what really broke the camel's back, because really prior to that, I was doing all these things to try to manage it. I had 2 VAs scraping data, trying to like pull stuff out so I could figure out how to make good decisions, right? We had 10 employees now who are relying on us, right, to feed their families and have a stable job, including my own. And I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And then the whole thing goes down and I was like, this is it. I'm done. I don't know what we need to do, but I'm going to fix this. Like, this is ridiculous. So I was like, what's the number one CRM in the world? I'm just going to go buy that. What is it? And it's indisputably Salesforce, right? So Salesforce is the number one CRM. No one talks about it in our industry. I'm like, why, right? Why isn't this a thing for us? It seems like it's a thing for everybody else. So I went to Salesforce and like they put you through this funnel, right, where you book demos and you go through all these calls. So I think we're 7 demos in, right? We're talking to different developers or whatever to build out the Salesforce thing. And they're all an hour long. So I'm now 7 hours deep in this thing. And this is the final call. And they're telling me what it's going to take to build what I'm asking them to build, right? And they, with a straight face, there's like 7 people on this call. They're like, yeah, so phase 1 is going to take about 6 months. And at the end of phase 1, you'll be able to log in. And you'll be able to like see stuff. But that's just phase 1. That's $100,000 for phase 1. And then we'll talk about phase 2 after that, where like you can start maybe working in it at the end of phase 2. And I was like, what? Like, first of all, no, I have an issue right now that I need to solve. And 6 months, and then I can log in. And that's $100,000. What is this is going to cost? Well, how much is this going to cost me? You know, and I'm just like melting down on the Zoom call. Like I didn't hold any crazy back. Like I just lost it. I was just flabbergasted. I was expecting it to be expensive, right? I was like, what, 20, 30 grand? What is this going to cost? But I was not expecting $100,000 for phase 1, and that equals logging in. So again, I melt down this call and I'm like, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to build it myself. And they all laughed at me. They're like, okay, okay, well, we're going to follow up with you later. Like, obviously you're a lunatic, right? So we logged off that call, and I was just like, literally, how hard can this be? I'm going to do this. Well, it turns out it's pretty difficult.
Pretty hard. Yeah.
I will admit it's pretty difficult. But I was pissed, and I was just going to do it. And I was like, we don't have a choice at this point. I need a stable CRM. We're never going to get to where we need to go if I keep dealing with ridiculous problems that I don't even have good data on solving, and that things are unstable and they break. Like, I just can't. Are we going to do this business or not? Like, yeah. I felt like I didn't have a choice. So I downloaded the base package of Salesforce, and I spent the next 200 straight hours basically just sleeping in between. And I built out our CRM. I coded the whole stinking thing. I watched a bunch of videos. I tried to find some old courses, because Salesforce is very smart. I mean, they're the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room for sure. Like, you can buy these courses to teach you how to code, but each course is $2,000 and you need 20 of them. So I was like, okay, well, they still got you there, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna find some old stuff and I'm just gonna figure it out. And then that's my poor family. I was sitting there like at the dinner table trying to figure this thing out. And about 200 hours later or so, it was good enough that we could launch it and we could bring our whole company on it and start migrating our data over. And that was about like 3 months.
I got to interject here, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you here, but I'm sitting here, and if anybody's watching this, like, my face probably like tells a story. I'm floored that honestly, I'm not usually at a loss for words on my own podcast, but right now I'm thinking to myself, I'm just putting myself in your shoes. Your CRM went down. Let me backtrack for a second. Your CRM goes down for 3 days. You're like what the, right? Like, how did this happen? Bleep. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, how did this happen that drove you to find a solution? You Googled what's the best CRM. You stumbled on Salesforce. You end up going through a series of calls with the Salesforce team, and demo after demo. You finally get to the final call with 6-7 people on. And you said, I didn't hold back my crazy when they told me it's $100,000 and that's phase 1. And then from there, I studied you and I researched you a bit. You were a nurse practitioner. You weren't a computer, engineer, computer programmer. And so you're telling me that in order to solve this CRM issue in your real estate business, you learned coding and went through 200 plus hours to ultimately get to that solution, you are a mad woman, and I love you. Like, that is insanity. That's crazy. But I'll kick it over to you to talk a little bit about that, because like, you were so driven that you studied and learned coding so that you could come up with your own solution. Like, I'm floored by that.
I felt like I didn't have a choice, that this was what I had to do in order to get to the next level in our company. And I mean, I had a little bit of familiarity with computer programming. I mean, enough that I could understand a little bit. I used to do a little, my father is also an entrepreneur, ironically enough, but that's another story. But never got encouraged to start my own business. When you're a child of an entrepreneur, it's like, just go to college. My parents are both immigrants. My father's born and raised in Norway. My mother born and raised in Italy. And that mentality is like, no, just go to school, right? But while I was in college, I dated a computer systems engineer, and for a couple of years, and I learned a little bit from him on like a basic code. So I had some familiarity, but not much, enough that I could just understand a little bit. But I just felt like I didn't have enough, really a choice. I felt like I had to do it. And like I said, blind rage apparently turns to be pretty motivating.
Yeah, incredible. So 200 hours later, you finally have something you can roll out. And so was it, I would imagine there was bumps in the road. It wasn't just like I rolled it out and everything was great. Like, how did you implement that system into your business? And did you have confidence in it? Because you were actually running a multi-million-dollar business on it.
Yeah. So ironically enough, it really wasn't that bumpy. And it was a little difficult to transition and to teach people how to use it and things like that. So that took a little bit of time, but not much. Honestly, people in my company were excited because they were so tired with the other system. And the people who weren't excited were the people who were hiding, right? I think we all have those people in our business who are like, oh no, I did do it, but the task must have glitched. There's something. They were like, now all of a sudden there's transparency, right? And they're like, oh no, I did that. I'm like, no, you didn't, because you didn't log in. You logged in yesterday and you didn't click on that because I can see what you click on, right? So that kind of transparency people were uncomfortable with. But thankfully I didn't have too many people like that in our company. But those were the people who were the most resistant, were the people who weren't accountable and didn't want to be held accountable. But I didn't, honestly, this is one of those moves as an owner that we all discourage, but I didn't wait for buy-in for my company on this. I was like, this is what we're doing. And I'm not here for opinions or consensus. Like, we don't have a choice. We're coming on here, like it or not, we're transitioning to Salesforce. And again, like, I had to like take that pressure of like, oh shit, you better be right.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, right? Like, you're like, yeah, hopefully it works because I'm just forcing everybody into this. But once everybody was on it, everyone was pretty much relieved, right? They're like, oh, this is stable. Oh, this works. And, since launching, we've done a bunch of upgrades, right? But nothing catastrophically different. Like, there is no 2.0 version. Like, it's just things just kind of get better and better. Like, little things get added on and people are excited about them, but there's no massive shifts. But we're probably on it for a month or so. And that was my goal. Like, I didn't have any other vision for that. I was just wanted something for our company. Yeah. And, a month or so after we launched, Salesforce contacted me and followed up with me. Those people for those calls. They're like, hey, how's it going? Did you give up yet? Essentially. And I know these developers meant well, right? But they were essentially like, okay, did you get now, did you see how hard it is? Now do you give up? And I was like, oh no, actually I launched it fully, by the way, not phase 1. And everyone in my company is on it. So we're good. Thanks for the follow-up. And they were like, wait a minute, what? I was like, no, we're done. I built it. They're like, oh, do you mind sharing it with us? Do you mind? I'm actually surprised. Do you mind showing us what you built? And I was like, okay. So the developer and then my Salesforce account manager, who's so sweet, by the way, my account manager was phenomenal. It was really the developers who were kind of tricky. But anyway, so we jump on the Zoom call and I'm like, sure, fine, I'll show you. So I showed them what I built. And they were like, oh, wow. And my account manager called me later and she was like, you built something here. Like, I just want you to know, like, you have something here. And I was like, well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And she's like, do you think that anybody else would want this? And I was like, well, maybe. And she said, you should bring this and you should make an app out of it. Like, you can make this an app and like sell it on our app exchange. And I was like, what's an app? I don't know what an app is for Salesforce. I'm thinking like an app like on your phone. She's like, well, it kind of is like iTunes, right? Like, you can have these developers can build stuff on Apple's platform and then people can download it or buy it or whatever. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. She's like, yeah, I want you to introduce you to our partnership program. Let me get those colleagues involved. I really think that you have something here. Can I come visit you? And I was like, sure. So they came to my office and she's like, I really think you need to do something.
So let me just tell you that I'm inspired by you, because what a fascinating story. That I would have loved to have seen these developers' faces and this person's face when they hopped on Zoom with you and saw what you've built. And it's just incredible that, you talk about taking action. I mean, you took it to a whole nother level, Stephanie. And as a result of that, now you have this massive opportunity on your hands. When she said, I'm just trying to put myself on that Zoom call, when she said, hey, I want to come visit you, is that when it struck you like, wow, maybe I've created something really special here? Or when did you know you had something that people could really benefit from?
When Salesforce wants to visit your office, I was like, what? Okay.
Salesforce is a massive company, for those of you who don't know. I mean, they are like Stephanie said, they are the CRM solution, not just, by the way, not for real estate investors, like for entrepreneurs, for businesses.
Yeah. So that's really when it struck me. Honestly, initially when they followed up, I was just kind of annoyed, right? I was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to be in a follow-up sequence, like, right? Yeah. But when she was saying that, and then she's like, can we come visit? I was like, oh, maybe I need to pay attention here. Like, maybe this is something, right? And again, like, my intention was never to do any of this. My intention was just to solve it for myself. It didn't even come up on my radar. And then I felt kind of silly. I was like, well, why didn't that come up on my radar? Right. But thankfully, what was cool is that hard work then was recognized, and I think I needed somebody else to recognize that, to say, you did something. And that was really, really humbling. Like, one of those moments you're like, really? I did something cool? I don't know. And after that, I mean, Allie, if Allie watches this, hopefully she's seen some of this. I think she's been promoted a couple times now since I've spoken to her. She's not my account manager anymore, but she really made a little pathway for me. She's like, this is who you need to talk to. This is what you need to do. And I was so unfamiliar with the whole process because I had no education on what this was going to be. Yeah. And she just opened up this lane for me. And she's like, okay, these are the next steps. And I had to go through this pretty massive security review where they try to break your app, and they test all these really smart people, try to break it, right? That actually went to school for computer engineering, and it passed. Like, they couldn't break it, and they're like, "Yep, we're ready to go live." And this was January 2020. They're like, "You can publish it now."
Unbelievable.
And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna publish it." Like, okay, we're gonna publish it. So we did in January 2020. I wish I knew the date because it would be great. I think it was the 18th. It went live. And then I was petrified. Like, now I'm scared because I really like it, right? Like, this has become like my baby now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, sure. It was my baby for our company. It really, I mean, when I say it changed things, like, it changed our business. Being able to have that clarity and that data and people accountable, it changed our business. We were doing 50 deals a year, went to 200 deals a year, and we spent less money doing it. It was literally game changing for us. But now I believed in it so much and I cared so much that I was so scared about what people would say. Right. So I got the buy-in from Salesforce, which was humbling. But now I'm like, what about our industry? Like, I have to bring yet another CRM out to the industry. Right. And, I was just flat out petrified. So a couple of my friends that, I've been telling them about this journey, and they're like, I want to do it. I want to try it. And I was like, okay, well, you can try it. And then so they tried it and they loved it. And they told some other friends, and then they bought it. And then other people did it. And then we had this big organic growth thing happen. And then I was sitting in an accountability call with, a couple of our friends, which, by the way, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs who will help root you on. Like, holy crap.
Absolutely.
Holy crap. You need to surround yourself with people who push you, right? Because your normal people won't. Like your mom
Right.
will tell you, oh no, don't stress. Come over here for dinner. Like you
Right.
need to be around people who will push you. So sitting in this accountability call and with a bunch of these friends, and we all do this with each other, right? Like, what are your goals? And we all push, we help hold each other accountable and push each other. And they sat and they were like, what are you doing? Why are you scared? Why aren't you talking about this? Like, this is ridiculous. You need to talk about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, what if all these little fears, and I felt so scared again. And they're like, no, that's first of all, that's not going to happen. It's going to be amazing. You need to start talking about it.
Yeah.
So in October 2020, I started publicly talking about it. And we have had just rocket ship growth and I am flabbergasted and humbled and excited and so many emotions as to the feedback that we've gotten from it and what how people feel, how their businesses are doing on it, how they feel, how much they love it. Like I'm still flabbergasted by it. I think we're 1,400 users up. Like I don't even know.
Unbelievable, Stephanie.
And like now I feel like I'm just getting started. Like we have so many cool things that we're adding to it now. Like other like vendor partnerships have sprung from it. Like we're making it bigger and better. Like, and it is just so amazing. I'm so humbled to bring something to the industry, right? And like I have all like my soapbox moments. Like, what are we doing in this industry? Like, why don't we have good data? Why don't we have good systems? What is happening? And then to like actually bring a solution forward. I mean, I literally feel so blessed to have the opportunity to give back to this community and to bring something forward because it's given me, and like this industry has changed my life. It's changed our whole life, my whole family's life on, our success in our company. And I just feel, I don't know how to articulate it. I just feel so blessed to bring something forward and have this opportunity.
What an unbelievable story. Like you are, first of all, you are a beast. I genuinely mean that. And I'm inspired from the bottom of my heart. Like I'm inspired. And I don't know that I've ever said that of all the people I've interviewed. And I'm inspired by many people, but first of all, maybe it's because, you and I are just in the process of building a relationship, but I didn't know that story. And it just makes me that much more committed to helping you grow Left Main, because you have truly built something with the help of many people, I'm sure, but you've truly built something that is a game changer for real estate investors. And, I told Melissa this several times. I'm like, where were you and Stephanie in my life 2-3 years ago? Like, because I've had so much stress with CRMs and with systems breaking and not being able to track my KPIs on a dashboard and trusting the data, and just team members, saying one thing, but I know in my heart they didn't do X, but I can't prove it. Right. And so, I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, if you help enough people get what they want, everything you want is inevitable. Right. And we get paid in proportion to the problems we solve. Like you deserve everything you get and more. Like this rocket ship launch that you're talking about is well deserved, because you've brought something to the market that people need, and the ones that don't know they need it will soon find out they need it. So guys, I want to strongly encourage you, check this thing out for yourself. Go to leftmainrei.co, leftmainrei.co, and schedule a strategy session / demo. And they're going to take you under the hood of this thing. And I would challenge you to point me to a better CRM. I have not seen anything that can do what this thing can do. And the fact that it's customizable to your business, it's not, it's turnkey, but if you want to customize it, you can. But it just does so many things. Screw features, the benefits, the money that this can make people and help people save is, I don't know that you can quantify it. And hopefully I'm not sounding salesy. I'm just that passionate about it. I mean, it's a pretty badass CRM solution. So kudos to you and your team.
Thank you so much. I mean, my team is phenomenal. The people that have been a part of this are just astounding human beings and so smart and have so much to bring to the table. It's just such a fun thing to do together. It's been amazing. And now we have different challenges, right? Like now we've got to figure out how to continue to get bigger and better, and how to support the incredible growth. one of the biggest challenges we've had at Left Main has been accommodating customizations. I felt so strongly about that I didn't want to lock people in. Because let me tell you, the most scalable thing is, from me and my standpoint, is to be like, this is it. This is all you get. This is the box that you're in. You can't change it, right? That's the easiest thing for me to do in the scalable thing. But I was like, no, I don't care that's a scalable thing to do. Like, we've got to figure out a way to let people change it if they want to, right? Like, this is going to be an 100% or 150% solution for some people, and then for some people it's going to be an 80% solution.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But that I want to build something that you cannot outgrow. And I think that as soon as you lock it down so that you eliminate customizations, then you lose growth, right? Like, you can't stay on it forever, because inevitably things change and you grow and your company changes. So I really wanted to make sure that we allowed for customizations and keep it open, like keep the system open so people can add things on and things like that. And that's been challenging for us with all the growth, then to like accommodate all the changes and all the customizations and things. But I'm honored to do it. Like, to have that problem of like, we need more developers, we need more people on our team. Like, I'll take that any day so that I can provide something that allows people to customize it, you know? And that is, I think, the best problem.
And that says so much about you, because selfishly, like, I'm thinking to myself, you're one of us. Like, you're a real estate investor, and so you get the challenges and the struggles of, you know, paying a bunch of money, having a CRM, and then kind of being stuck and confined to that box. And many CRMs out there you might be able to customize, but it is a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of money. And, you know, you've done something, from what I've seen and witnessed and kind of experienced, that it's just very easy, very user friendly, and it is a Ferrari. I mean, and it's like a top of the line Ferrari. And what's cool about it is that, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, well, hey, you know, we do 2, 3, 4, 5 deals a month, and I don't need a Ferrari. Just check this thing out. And when I tell you that using 10 to 20% of Left Main is going to be better than, I'm pretty confident in saying 100% of what you're probably using, that's how badass this thing is. So yeah, really want to encourage you guys, leftmainrei.com, and check out a demo session. It's 100% free. And I think you're going to be blown away by it. Stephanie, I don't know, you must have 36 hours in a day, not 24. I don't know how you run a multi-million-dollar, you know, real estate investing business. You're a mother of 3. You're a wife. You have this software company that has exploded and changing real estate investors' business. Again, I don't know what to say, but you are a beast.
Thank you. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, sleep faster. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, but
yeah. Well, listen, I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. We're coming up on an hour here, and I encourage you. There's a standing invite to hop back on the show whenever you want, whenever you have the time. If you can sleep faster and make some time, because there's so much more to get into with this. But guys, I endorse and stand 1000% behind Left Main. All you guys got to do is check this thing out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Stephanie's. Just check this thing out for yourself. And I think that'll do all the heavy lifting. So leftmainrei.com/flip empire. And Stephanie, you are awesome. I'm looking forward to building a friendship, and I look forward to supporting you. And I truly believe when I see something that is disruptive in a positive way, I want to share it with people. I really do. And so I'm grateful to have you on, and I'm grateful to to be an advocate and a supporter of Left Main. So thank you for everything you've done. Seriously.
I'm so touched by that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, my friends, I am always here for you. This show would not exist without you. You are the reason I do this, and thank you, because it gives me the opportunity to connect with awesome people like Stephanie, and then like yourself. I've had so many people reach out to me, send me messages, and I just love connecting with people that support the show, and more importantly, people that just want to grow as people, as entrepreneurs. And so if I can help impact you even in a small way, I think that's why I'm here. I think that's why God put me on this earth. So I appreciate you for allowing me to have this platform and pour into your life. I'm going to continue to do so. And I know Stephanie's doing the same with, her solutions and the things that she's doing in the industry. So definitely, Stephanie, where can people connect with you if they want to follow you on social or,
Oh, sure.
reach out to you?
Yeah, Facebook is just facebook.com/Stephanie Betters, and then Instagram is @StephBetters.
Awesome. Well,
yes,
thank
please
you.
connect with me. I love it too. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. So reach out. And guys, if you have any questions or if you want to start a dialogue, tag us on social media, tag us on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to hop in there, and Steph and I will sleep faster and get to the comments and questions out there. And if you guys have any questions about Left Main, again, I had the opportunity just 3-4 days ago to go through a pretty in-depth demo. And so while I'm not the expert at it, I've been around enough CRMs to know what's legit and what's not. So if I can help answer any questions or add any value, just reach out to me, and I'm happy to hop on a call with you as well. So if you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Take care, Steph.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. But before you go, I've had a lot of people recently reach out to me wanting to learn more about Ascend, wanting to understand how the mastermind component works, how the coaching relationship works. And so right now we're actually on a waiting list. But what I would encourage you to do is, if you think you're the right fit and you think you could benefit from being a part of our community, head over to ascendyoursuccess.com, watch the short video, and then just click the apply to join button below. And then we'll be in contact with you if and when a spot opens up. So really appreciate you listening to Flip Empire here, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care.